My fiancé texted, "I asked a lawyer if your savings automatically become mine after we get married." I replied, "Good thinking." Then I called my dad, explained everything, and had my account temporarily moved into a trust. When her lawyer relayed the news, she panicked and tried to undo what she had set in motion. My name is Jason. I'm 31, and I work as a senior financial analyst for a tech company in Austin. I make around $165,000 a year, but that's not what this story is about. It's about the $340,000 I have saved up, money I've been carefully accumulating since I was 22 through disciplined saving, smart investments, and living below my means. I drive a 6-year-old Toyota Camry, rent a modest 2-bedroom apartment, and pack my lunch 4 days a week. I'm not cheap, I'm strategic. I'd been with my fiancée Rachel for 2.5 years. We met at a friend's wedding in early 2022. She was a bridesmaid, I was a groomsman, and we hit it off immediately. She worked in marketing for a mid-sized firm, made about $68,000, and seemed like someone who had her life together. We moved in together after a year, got engaged 6 months ago, and were planning a wedding for next June. Everything seemed fine until 3 weeks ago. It was a Tuesday afternoon, November 5th. I was in back-to-back meetings all day, barely had time to check my phone. Around 3:45 p.m. during a 5-minute break, I glanced at my messages and saw one from Rachel that made my blood run cold. Rachel: "Hey babe, random question, but I asked a lawyer friend if your savings automatically become mine after we get married. She said it depends on the state and when the money was earned. Interesting stuff." I stared at that message for a solid 30 seconds. The casual tone, the smiley emoji, like she was asking about dinner plans instead of inquiring about legal access to money I'd spent nearly a decade building. I didn't respond immediately. I went back into my meeting, but I couldn't focus. My mind was racing. Why would she ask that? Why would she phrase it that way? And why would she tell me she asked? When I got home that evening around 6:30 p.m., Rachel was in the kitchen making pasta. She greeted me with a kiss, like nothing was wrong. "How was your day?" she asked, stirring sauce. "Good. Busy. Got your text." "Oh, yeah?" She didn't even look up. "Just curious about how all that works. You know, for planning purposes." "Planning purposes?" I repeated. "Yeah, like we should probably know what's ours together and what's separate, right? For the future." I set my bag down. "Rachel, that money in my savings, I earned all of it before we even met. It's not marital property." She turned around, wooden spoon in hand. "I know that. I'm not trying to take your money, Jason. I was just asking a question. But why ask a lawyer? Why not ask me?" She shrugged. "Because I wanted an objective answer, not an emotional one. You're so touchy about money." "I'm not touchy about money. I'm careful with money. There's a difference. See? Touchy." She turned back to the stove. I didn't push it further that night, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The way she phrased that text. Become mine, not become ours. Mine. The next morning, Wednesday, I did something I'm not proud of. I checked our shared laptop while Rachel was in the shower. I went through her recent browser history. I know, invasion of privacy. But that text had triggered every alarm bell in my head. What I found made everything worse. She'd been researching marriage and asset division extensively, multiple Google searches. Does premarital savings become marital property? How to protect assets in divorce. Can I claim half of spouse's savings? Prenup loopholes? Then I found an email draft in her Gmail that she hadn't sent yet. It was to her friend Michelle, dated the day before her text to me. "Michelle, I talked to Laura, the lawyer, about Jason's savings. She said that in Texas, anything earned before marriage usually stays separate unless it gets commingled with marital funds. So I'm thinking after we get married, I suggest we combine everything into joint accounts for simplicity. Once it's mixed together, it becomes community property. He's so trusting, I don't think he'll question it. I'm not trying to be shady, but he makes way more than me, and it's not fair that he has this cushion while I'm barely saving anything. We're going to be married. What's his should be ours, right? I read that email 3 times. My hands were shaking. She wasn't asking about asset division for innocent planning purposes. She was strategizing how to legally claim money I'd earned before I even knew she existed. I closed the laptop, went to work, and spent the entire day thinking. By the time I got home that evening, I'd made my decision. Update 1. Thursday morning. I texted Rachel back as if nothing was wrong. Me. Hey, thought more about your question yesterday. You're right. Good thinking to understand how all that works. Smart to plan ahead. Rachel. Right? I knew you'd get it once you thought about it. Love you. That afternoon, I called my dad. My father is a retired estate attorney who spent 40 years helping people protect their assets. If anyone would know what to do, it was him. Dad, I need your help with something. It's about Rachel. I explained everything. The text, the browser history, the email draft. He listened without interrupting, which is how I knew he was taking it seriously. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Son, I'm going to ask you a question, and I need you to be honest. Do you still want to marry this woman?" I don't know, I admitted. But I know I need to protect myself while I figure it out. Smart. Here's what we're going to do. You're going to move your savings into an irrevocable trust, temporarily. I'll set it up as the trustee. The money will be completely separate from any marital property, protected from any claims. It's perfectly legal, and it's exactly what I'd advise any client in your situation. How fast can we do this? I can have the paperwork ready by tomorrow afternoon. You'll need to come to Dallas to sign everything and transfer the funds, but once it's done, that money is locked down. Friday, I took a personal day from work and drove the 3 hours to Dallas. My dad had everything ready. We spent 2 hours at his office going through paperwork, and by 3 p.m., all $340,000 was transferred into a trust with my father as trustee. I was the beneficiary, but the funds were legally separated from my personal assets. "This is temporary, right?" I asked as we finished. "It can be dissolved whenever you want," Dad said. "But Jason, I have to say this. If you're having these doubts, maybe you should reconsider the wedding entirely." I know. I just need time to think. When I got back to Austin Friday evening, Rachel was already home, watching TV. "Where were you all day?" she asked. "You didn't answer my texts. Had to run to Dallas for family stuff. My dad needed help with some paperwork." "Is everything okay?" "Yeah, all good. Just boring legal stuff." She seemed satisfied with that answer and went back to her show. Update 2. The weekend passed normally. We ran errands Saturday, met friends for brunch Sunday. Rachel didn't mention the lawyer question again, and I didn't bring it up. But I was watching her differently now, noticing things I'd ignored before. How she always suggested splitting bills equally on her subscriptions, but expected me to cover the bigger expenses. How she'd casually mentioned wanting to upgrade to a bigger apartment, in my name, with my credit, but split the rent. How she'd been pushing for a joint bank account to make things easier. Monday morning, November 11th, everything came to a head. I was at my desk when my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. "Is this Jason Matthews?" "Yes, who's this?" "My name is Laura Chen. I'm an attorney and a friend of Rachel's. I'm calling because she asked me to look into some financial questions regarding your upcoming marriage, and I've discovered something concerning." My stomach dropped. "What's that?" "Well, Rachel mentioned you have substantial premarital savings, around $340,000. She wanted to understand her legal rights to those funds after marriage. However, in doing some routine verification, I discovered that as of Friday, those funds were transferred into an irrevocable trust. Is that correct?" I smiled, even though she couldn't see me. "That's correct." Silence on the other end. Then, "I see. Was Rachel aware you were doing this?" "No." Is there a legal reason she should have been? No, of course not. It's your money. Rachel was under the impression that she would have access to those funds after marriage, potentially for joint investments or a home purchase. This changes things significantly. I'm sure it does, I said calmly. Is there anything else I can help you with? No, that's all. Thank you for your time. She hung up. I sat there for a moment, then my phone started buzzing. Rachel. I let it ring. She called again, and again. Finally, a text. Jason, call me right now. I waited 10 minutes, then called her back. What did you do? She shouted the second she answered. I protected my assets. The same thing your lawyer friend just confirmed I have every legal right to do. You moved all your money into a trust? Without telling me? Rachel, we're not married yet. It's my money. Why would I need to tell you? Because we're engaged. Because we're supposed to be building a life together. Building a life together doesn't mean you get automatic access to money I saved before I even knew you existed. Laura said you put it in an irrevocable trust. Do you know what that means? It means you can't even access it easily yourself. Actually, that's not entirely accurate, but I appreciate your concern. She was breathing hard on the other end. Why would you do this? Don't you trust me? Do you trust me? I countered. Because it seems like you were planning to suggest we combine all our accounts after the wedding so my premarital savings would become community property? That's what the email draft to Michelle says anyway. Dead silence. You went through my emails? You consulted a lawyer about how to claim my money without telling me. Let's call it even. Jason, that's not... I wasn't trying to... What were you trying to do, Rachel? Explain it to me. More silence. Then, quietly. I just think it's unfair that you have all this money and I don't. We're supposed to be partners. Partners, yes. But that doesn't mean you're entitled to money I earned through years of sacrifice and discipline before we were together. If you wanted to build savings, you had the same opportunity I did. I don't make as much as you. You make $68,000 a year. That's a good salary. Where does your money go? She didn't answer. Rachel, do you actually want to marry me or do you want to marry my bank account? How can you even ask me that? Because you asked a lawyer if my savings become yours after marriage? Not ours. Yours. She started crying. I love you. I'm sorry. I was just scared about money and I made a stupid mistake asking Laura. Can we please just talk about this in person? I don't think there's anything to talk about, I said. I think we should postpone the wedding. Postpone? Jason, no. I need time to think. And you clearly need time to figure out what you actually want from this relationship. I hung up. Update 3. Rachel showed up at my apartment that night. I'd changed the locks the day before, something I'd been meaning to do anyway since we'd both had keys, but it was my lease. She knocked for 10 minutes before finally calling me. I'm outside. Please let me in. We need to talk. I don't think that's a good idea right now. Jason, I'm not leaving until we talk. I'll stand out here all night if I have to. I sighed and went downstairs to the building entrance. She was standing there in sweatpants and a hoodie, makeup free, eyes red from crying. Can we go upstairs? She asked. No, we can talk here. Seriously? Yes. She looked around at the empty lobby. Fine. Jason, I'm sorry. I know what I did looks bad. It doesn't look bad, Rachel. It is bad. I was scared. I make less than half what you make, and I've got student loans and credit card debt, and you're just sitting on $340,000 like it's nothing. I panicked and made a stupid mistake. You didn't panic. You strategized. There's a difference. What do you want me to say? That I'm a gold digger? I'm not. I love you. I just wanted some financial security. At my expense. We're supposed to be getting married. Your security is my security. No, Rachel. My security is my security. Your security should be something you build for yourself. She wiped her eyes. So what, you're just going to end our engagement over this? I'm going to postpone it. I need to figure out if you actually love me or if you love what you thought you'd have access to. That's not fair. Neither is consulting a lawyer behind my back about how to claim my premarital assets. She stared at me for a long moment. What if I sign a prenup? Would that fix this? I don't know. Maybe. But right now, I don't trust you. Please don't do this, she whispered. I made a mistake. People make mistakes. I know they do. And I need time to figure out if this is a mistake I can get past. She nodded slowly, tears streaming down her face. Can I at least get some of my stuff from the apartment? I boxed everything up. It's in the storage unit downstairs. I'll text you the code. You already packed my stuff? I wanted to be prepared for this conversation. She looked at me like I was a stranger. You really have this all figured out, don't you? I'm protecting myself. Same thing you were trying to do. She left without another word. Final update. It's been 5 weeks since that conversation. Rachel and I have had no contact except for one email exchange where she asked about splitting up the wedding deposits. I told her to keep whatever she'd paid for and I'd handle what I'd paid for. The venue was in my name and they refunded 60% of the deposit since we canceled more than 6 months out. I dissolved the trust 2 weeks ago. The money's back in my personal accounts, but this time I'm keeping it in separate, carefully documented premarital accounts. If I ever get married, there will be an ironclad prenup. Rachel, from what I've heard through mutual friends, has been telling people I trapped her and wasted her time. She's apparently dating someone new already, a guy who works in private equity and drives a Tesla. Good for her. I hope she's honest with him about her intentions. As for me, I'm doing fine. Better than fine, actually. I've been reflecting on red flags I ignored. How she always wanted to go to expensive restaurants on my dime. How she'd forget her wallet when we went shopping. How she pushed for me to upgrade my car and apartment. I thought she just had expensive taste. Now I realize she had expensive expectations for my money. I'm not bitter. I'm grateful. Better to learn this before the wedding than after. Better to lose some deposits than half my assets in a divorce. My dad called yesterday to check in. You did the right thing, son. I'm proud of you. Thanks, Dad. Sorry I didn't see it sooner. Sometimes we don't see things because we don't want to. You saw it when it mattered. That's what counts. I've started dating again, casually, nothing serious. I'm upfront now about finances and expectations. If that makes me cynical, so be it. Edit 1. A lot of people are asking if I feel bad for going through her emails. Honestly, number. That email confirmed exactly what her intentions were. Sometimes you have to verify your gut feeling. Edit 2. For those saying I overreacted, she literally consulted a lawyer about how to get access to my premarital savings and planned to trick me into commingling funds. That's not overreacting. That's responding appropriately to a calculated betrayal. Edit 3. Someone asked what happened to the engagement ring. I returned it and got 70% of what I paid. Used that money to take my parents on a vacation. Best investment I've made all year. Edit 4. Yes, my dad is the MVP of this story. Retired estate attorneys make excellent life advisors. 10 out of 10 would recommend.